Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I've changed up the lighting a little bit, got a ring light going. If it improves the lighting, let me know. If it looks worse, also let me know. We're going to talk about Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios. We've just seen their final press conference. Not a lot to talk about there, to be honest with you. But then we're going to talk about Carl Froch and John Fury, because this saga is just continuing and continuing and continuing. Alright, a very reserved and very respectful Ryan Garcia we saw today. He basically sat to himself, had his earphones in. Chris Mannix really should have asked him what he was listening to, because I think everybody was wondering what it was, but not a lot from Ryan Garcia. This wasn't the crazy maniac mental sort of Ryan Garcia that we've seen in previous times. A Ryan Garcia that normally I'd prefer. I do think that a Ryan Garcia that's a little bit riled up, a little bit emotional, a little bit, crazy is a better Ryan Garcia. I think we see better performances by him. But when we look at this sort of Ryan Garcia, reserved Ryan Garcia, you've got two thoughts. Is it a non-motivated Ryan Garcia, or is it a completely concentrated on the task at hand? We don't need all that other bullshit coming with us, Ryan Garcia. I hope it's the latter, because this fight needs to be a banger. I think Mario Barrios is going to bring it, and Ryan Garcia needs to bring it as well. And I think it'll make for very good entertainment. And I think Ryan Garcia has a very, very good chance of winning this fight. If you haven't already seen, check out my preview. It is on the channel. Mario Barrios, typical Mario Barrios. We've actually heard, again, another press conference where the most talking that we've heard was from people that weren't the fighters. All right, we heard Ryan Garcia's dad talking a lot. We heard Ryan Garcia's manager talking a lot. We heard Oscar De La Hoya talking a lot. We heard Joe Gushin talking a lot. Mario Barrios didn't really give much. Ryan Garcia didn't give much. They sort of just answered the few questions that they were asked to a minimal and kept it moving. We saw a face-off. Mario Barrios, how this guy was making these lower weight classes is unbelievable, because he does not look like a welterweight. He looks like a super welterweight. He looks like maybe even bordering on a middleweight. He looks massive. Ryan Garcia, not a huge welterweight, but the height difference is massive. Even like Mario Barrios was wearing big clothes, so it's hard to tell, but I feel like tomorrow when we see the final weigh-in and we see a face-off, probably when they're both shirtless, I feel like Mario Barrios will be the thicker fighter as well. So it will be interesting to see that, because the guy is huge. All right, even his head is massive. So Ryan Garcia is going to need to be in the best shape of his life, and I think he is. The other part that we saw was Oscar De La Hoya presenting the new WBC necklace. One thing I found interesting was it's a ring event. You got Rick Reno sitting right there. The ring are very heavy on. The ring belt is the #1 belt. It's the belt everybody wants, and you got Oscar De La Hoya there presenting the necklace, saying, a big thank you to the WBC. It is the #1 belt in the world. So I thought that was funny. Joe Gushin spoke about training Mario Barrios, the impact that Ryan Garcia's training those 3 fights is going to have on this fight. He says it's really going to have no impact on it at all, but we are doing a full overhaul of Mario Barrios, taking up some of the mistakes that he's watched in, film study of his last few fights. Abel Ramos and Manny Pacquiao, because there was a lot of mistakes. A full overhaul. They're going to try and make him a more aggressive, more big-hitting fighter, more on the front foot, and better conditioning overall. So a lot of the things that I said in my preview that Mario Barrios really needs to improve on. Obviously, having a new eye in training camp, he's going to say it how it is and really try and revolutionize what Mario Barrios is. And I think he needs that, because he has stagnated, it has a bit of a stall, and he's lucky to have got out of his last 2 fights with 0 losses. So that basically covers the press conference. Like I said, not a lot to offer there. You basically look at Ryan Garcia and say, what is he offering? And that's the way the press conference is going to be. And it was very reserved, very respectful. And he even stayed after the press conference to take media and talk to some of the fans. So I thought that was very good from Ryan Garcia. It could be last gun saloon for Ryan Garcia. This is his chance to become a world champion, but it's also a big fight, because your last 3 results to be a no contest cheating, losing to Rolly Romero the way you did, you at very least need to put up a very competitive fight against Mario Barrios. If you have a fight like you did against Rolly Romero against Mario, it's going to just spell disaster. I don't think it's going to go that way, by the way, because the stylistics of Rolly Romero to Mario Barrios are completely different, and I think it's going to benefit Ryan Garcia. Let's get on to John Fury and Carl Froch.
Right. This is a message you've all been waiting for. Carl the Worm Froch, you've got yourself a fight. Where do you want to fight at, mate? We'll do it in the ring, under the lights. I'll fight you at Tottenham in 8 weeks' time. Me and you, Tottenham, undercard, 8 weeks' time, you'll get that, because I know you're a shithouse. I know you're not a man. A 3-time Hall of Fame, you might be all right at 12 stone, mate. You're not nothing at heavyweight, my pal. I'd laugh at you and hit me. But listen, we've talked too much. I'm not going to make a long video. Get Netflix to contact me. Let's talk about this because it's about this. You know that and I know that. And you've got yourself a fight, mate. You can fight the father of the best heavyweight in the world, the Gypsy King's father. And I'll tell you now, I will not disgrace my son by letting a fucking bum like you even come close to beating me. You've got yourself a fight, Mr. Froch. 8 weeks Tottenham. I don't need 6 months training. I'm ready to go now, my pal.
He'll fight any man born from his mother. He'll take anyone on because he's the ultimate man. The ultimate meatball. So he's addressed that now and said, because I said I'll fight you on misfits. If you really want to fight, if I really have to do it, I'll hit you with a couple of body shots, a couple of jabs, and I'll help you up when I've dropped you. And it'll be embarrassing the same way you're embarrassing. John Fury's a big bully, and big bullies need putting into place. And if I'm the man that has to do it, I will do it. I don't want to beat an old man up. I don't want to start on a 60-year-old man. He's 10 years older than me, 60-year-old man. I'm pressing on for 50. So, is it a fair fight? I think we both know it isn't. But he's called it on at Tottenham Hotspurs on the undercard. Calling me a bum. Calling me a worm. It's so disrespectful. It actually gets me a little bit angry. I'm laughing. I'm laughing at it inside, but I'm also, the fighting man in me makes me want to respond with, if he was in the room now stood in front of me, I would punch his head in. I really would, because he's such a big loudmouth gob who's done all, living off his son's name. And it actually winds me up when I think about when he started on Carl Frampton, a good friend of mine, top pundit analyst, ex-world champion. He started on the smallest man in the room at the Usyk press conference, headbutted him. He had to go to Steve Bunce last week.
All right, you would have just seen a sequence of clips, just to give you a little bit of reference what we're going to be talking about. John Fury at first saying that, I don't want to fight any man to give him any money. I'm not fighting bums for money, whatever have you to. All right, we're going to fight on Netflix because you want it for the money and however else you want it. Now, the problem I have with that is following the initial incidents between John Fury and Carl Froch, we all know what happened. It was more about an incident with John Fury than it was Carl Froch. Carl Froch stood there and minded his own fucking business. But I've heard that Tyson Fury was less than pleased with John Fury's antics and told him to calm it down, rein it in and stop it. And obviously John Fury has not listened at fucking all. But John Fury still going after Carl Froch, now wanting to fight him on the Netflix card, headlined by Tyson and Makhmudov. The problem I have with that is, look, John, you're his father, all right? You're his trainer, you're whatever else have you. Just be that guy for Tyson. Tyson's trying to rebuild. Tyson's trying to reclaim something that he once was. And that was a great heavyweight, all right? He's had a long layoff. His last 2 fights were losses. He wants to get into that fight with Usyk. This is your time to be with your son and really focus on what your son's doing. It's not about you still in the headlines and trying to get on the card and make your own payday and, you know, almost neglect what your son's doing. For me, I think that's really poor on John, especially after the way Tyson is displeased with his antics. Look, I'm all for making a bit of a show, making a bit of entertainment, get more eyes on the event, but keep it at that. All right, this is Tyson's event. This is not you versus Carl Froch. I did like Carl Froch's idea to put it on a Misfits card because that is where it belongs. This is a 60-year-old man that wasn't really that great in his day versus a 168er that was a very, very good fighter that is borderline on 50 now, so 10 years difference. That's where the card should go. If John Fury is actually interested in fighting Carl Froch, then I'm sure he'll sign the papers for it. Carl Froch seems to be happy to fight him wherever. Carl Froch, to be honest with you, Carl Froch could fight John Fury on the undercard of Tyson versus Makhmudov and still do the punditry for the entire fight card after beating John Fury. That's how confident I would be in saying that Carl Froch would annihilate John Fury. And it seems like Carl Froch is quite motivated. He's not taking it quite nicely the way that he's being spoken to by John, and he's not taking it too nicely the way that John has spoken about, you know, people that Carl knows. I'm talking Carl Frampton, I'm talking about anybody else that really John Fury has gone after, because everybody that John Fury has really gone after has been British, basically, and you know what? They've all been really small guys. Like, you look at Carl Frampton, how small he is compared to John. You know, even Carl Froch is small compared to John. So Carl Froch seems more than motivated to get in there in the ring and fight John Fury. For me, John's never going to back up his bark with some bite. He's just not going to. There's no chance that I think this fight ever gets made or happens. The closest you'll get is a fight being confirmed and then John pulling out, all right? I just don't see it ever actually happening, because Carl Froch, I believe, would go in there and fight wouldn't even want to fight it for money. He would just do it for his own pride and whatever else have you. And John Fury, like I said, he is a lot of bark and a lot of bite. He can keep on barking and barking and barking and barking at more than enough people without having to fight any of them. You lose to Carl Froch and all of a sudden you've lost that ability to bark. So he's not going to take that risk. To be honest with you, this saga just sort of needs to end. I don't think it'll end for a while now, which is a bit of a shame because, like I said, this should be the Tyson Fury versus Makhmudov show, not the John Fury versus Carl Froch show. I don't have anything against either of them personally. If they got it on, put it on a Misfits card, separate it from this event and do your own thing. Don't sort of hijack Tyson's event. That would be my stance on it. In terms of the fight, like I said, Carl would take the fight, win the fight, and then be back in the punditry box shortly after, ready to commentate on the rest of the fight. So that's how I see the fight going. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments below. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about, we're only going to talk about it briefly because there hasn't been much info being spilled about this. According to Eddie Hearn, they are planning for Anthony Joshua to return to the ring in July following that traumatic incident that he was a part of. I would love to hear a few more statements from Anthony Joshua when it leads up to the fight or leads up to an announcement. We will talk about it a little bit more, but it does sound that Anthony Joshua is going to be returning to the ring July time, which is great to see. Look, what he's going to go through mentally and has gone through mentally, not only physically, but I think more mentally, because being in a car crash is obviously going to take its physical toll, but the mental toll of the past, few months is something that it's going to take a lot for Anthony Joshua to recover from and step back in the ring. So hopefully he can find a little bit of bliss in training, a little bit of mental stability in training and getting back into regiment to, help him not necessarily move on from the losing of his mates, but help him deal with it and handle it. Obviously, that's going to stick with him for the rest of his life. And I don't typically like talking about these subjects on the channel because I feel like talking about it and making media and journalistic stuff about talking about people that have lost their lives is just a little bit disrespectful. And I don't want to come across disrespectful, but it is news. Anthony Joshua is returning to the ring, so it's great to see him coming back. Hopefully his mental state is sort of coming back as well. Like I said, condolences with Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua is going to have to carry that for the rest of his life, but hopefully he can find a little bit of bliss about coming back to the ring, getting back into your training regimen and, honoring the people that you've lost. All right, guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave all your thoughts in the comments below. I'm out here. See yous.